Interrupted you again, Joe. Here's Senator Clinton after some kind of victory in Florida.
For your votes today. This has been a record turnout because Floridians wanted their voices to be heard on the great issues that affect our country and the world. I am thrilled to have had this vote of confidence that you have given me today. And I promise you I will do everything I can to make sure not only are Florida's Democratic delegates seated, but Florida is in the winning column for the Democrats in 2008. I want to thank my friends, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Congressman Elsie Hastings, Mayor Manny Diaz, and my great friend of so many years, Senator Bill Nelson. You know, this has been an intense election because people really care about what's happening to our country. So many of the people who talk to me every single day are worried about the economy. They're worried about their health care. They're worried about their college education for their children. They're worried about whether we can restore our leadership and standing in the world. Well, I am convinced that with this resounding vote, with the millions of Americans who will vote next Tuesday, we will send a clear message that America is back and we're going to take charge of our destiny again. I am so grateful to the countless Floridians who, on their own, organized, worked hard, talked to your friends and your neighbors. You made a very big difference. And we know that as we move forward in this campaign, all of your voices will go with me, because I am not only going to take my 35 years of experience to the White House. I'm going to take your voices, your concerns, your hopes, your dreams. We have a lot of tough decisions to make, but we're Americans. We can make these decisions. We can meet our challenges and seize our opportunities if we start acting like Americans again. We roll up our sleeves. We set about solving our problems. And I want to ask you, do you agree with me? Because here is what I believe. I believe everyone who works full-time in America should bring home an income that lifts that person out of poverty and gives them and their children a better chance. I believe that every man, woman, and child has a right to quality, affordable health care. I believe that every child has a God-given potential that we can help to develop if we have universal pre-kindergarten and we have a school system that is not so worried about giving tests as are making sure our kids can learn. I believe that our tax system should be fair for everyone. It is wrong that people making $50 million a year on Wall Street pay a lower percentage of their taxes than a teacher making $50,000 in Florida.
Senator Clinton speaking and reminding those in the audience, both locally and nationally, that she is insistent that Florida delegates will be seated. She referred to what happened tonight, even though this was not supposed to count according to the rules established by the Democratic National Committee. She referred to this as a resounding vote and an intense election. That was not the original idea. This was supposed to be as spring training-ish as the baseball games that will be played there in that state a month from now. For the third time, we're going to go back to the panel, and unless something extraordinary is said this time, Joe, Hillary Clinton will not be interrupting you. The senator from New York has received more votes than Senator Barack Obama of Illinois and many more votes than former Senator John Edwards. And we know about the Republican headlines. To recap that just briefly, finish with the most votes in the Democratic event, a race in which the candidates had pledged not to campaign and for which no delegates were being awarded. Senator, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Keith. It's great to talk to you.
What was that event this evening in Florida? Would you define it for us?
It was a great victory for the people of Florida. They came out and voted, and their votes are going to count because, you know, they understood clearly that there's a lot at stake in this election, and they were not going to be discouraged from making their views known. And I am very grateful for the big victory that I had tonight, and I'm going to do everything I can to convince my delegates and others to seat the Florida delegates at the convention.
Does that effort, and you mentioned that in your comments to your crowd there in Davie, Florida earlier in the evening, does that effort, is it fair for critics who look at that effort and say this is Senator Clinton trying to change the agreed upon rules in Florida after the game has already begun and in fact has already been played?
No, not at all. I mean, we agreed that we would not campaign in either Florida or Michigan, and I certainly did not. And I was pleased that against an organized effort to vote uncommitted in Michigan, I got a healthy majority there, and I'm pleased that today I had another victory in Florida. There have been the 4 early contests. I'm very grateful for my victories in New Hampshire and Nevada and in Michigan and Florida. And I think it's absolutely fair to say that any Democrat needs to win Michigan and Florida if we're going to be sure to have a victory in November 2008. That's what I intend to do, Keith. And I think there is no reason why anyone should doubt the importance of Florida. We've seen that time and time again. So I am going to work to do everything I can to seat these delegates. I think they've earned it. They played by the rules. We all played by the rules. But now we need to move on, and we need to start thinking about victory for the Democrats, and that's what I'm going to do.
Senator, let me ask you about the rules of the campaign as you understand them. Ted Kennedy the other day made some tough comments about the tenor of the campaign so far without naming names. Do you believe that his entry, his commentary yesterday at AU, at American University, will lighten up, make more positive the nature of the campaign in the future?
Well, Chris, I've been saying for quite some time that, you know, it's really up to those of us who are the candidates to set the tone and tenor of the campaign. I think you've seen both Barack and I on several occasions say that, you know, we have exuberant supporters, including our spouses, who from time to time, you know, are very passionate in defending and promoting us. But it's important that we set the tone, and that's what I'm certainly trying to do. Because I want this election to be about the American people. That's what it should be about. It's about, you know, their jobs, their health care, their education, you know, all of the big issues that are facing us as a nation. So I'm going to do everything I can, and I've certainly been doing that to keep the focus where it belongs, on the future of the people whom I listen to, whose homes I visit in, because they're looking to have a president who cares about them again, who gets up every morning and, you know, doesn't favor the wealthy and the well-connected, but worries about what's going on in, you know, the homes across America, and I intend to do that.
You know, everybody noticed today that President Clinton was very effective, very disciplined, very on message, limited his time when he spoke to about exactly 30 minutes. Everything seemed to be along the lines you just described. Have you got it all reined in?
Well, Chris, it's my campaign, and I take responsibility for my campaign, and I've made it very clear to everyone that, you know, we're going to stay focused on the agenda that I've set forth for America. We're going to keep talking about the specific plans that I have, because I want to be held accountable. You know, when the cameras are turned off and the speeches are over, the American people deserve to know what each of us will do if we're given the great honor of being president. So that's the kind of campaign I'm running. That's what I'm going to be doing as hard as I can in as many places as I can reach between now and Super Tuesday.
You know, after Ted Kennedy gave that very tough speech that was cutting in many ways, he did some interviews yesterday with Tavis Smiley and then, of course, on the Today Show. He changed his tone rather dramatically to a milder approach in which he said that the 3 leading candidates for the Democratic presidential nomination agree on most issues. So I ask you, if you have a chance to talk to each of the voters who will vote next Tuesday right now, what is the one thing that separates you from the other two candidates, the other two frontrunners?
Well, I think that I have the experience we need to make the changes we want. And I have been very specific about exactly what I would do, how I would pay for what I think needs to be done in America, and the kind of policies that I propose that really go to the heart of, relieving the anxieties and concerns of the American people. We heard a State of the Union last night that, I wasn't sure which country it was about, because it's not the country I've been, visiting every day for the last year, where people are losing their homes to foreclosure because of abusive mortgage lending practices, where we're at $100 a barrel oil, and we cannot continue that, and the two oil men in the White House seem not to be worried about it, where we've got all of these concerns about people losing their health care and not being able to get their insurance companies to pay for what they need. There are so many real problems, and I think the American people want a problem solver back in the White House, somebody who gets up every single day and worries about them, their kids, their future, their jobs, and that's what I intend to do.